Hi everyone. I thought I'd just give you a quick update as to what I'm sewing this week. It's literally the last few days of January, so quickly slipping into February. And there's last week I sewed my chilies, but this week I'm going to start doing my aubergines, which are a plant that I've only been growing for a few years. The first time I grew it, the plant grew very successfully. However, I didn't get much fruit, and that was because I hadn't appreciated quite how early you need to sow them. They have a very long growing season before they start to fruit, especially in our climate. So last year I sowed in January and I had a really good crop. However, last year I grew a variety called um, Patio Baby, and Patio Baby produced loads upon loads of aubergines, but they were very, very small. I knew they were going to be small because that was the general idea, was that I would grow smaller aubergines rather than great big ones. However, they were just too small. I don't know whether that was just how I was growing them or whether that's how they are, but for me, they were just a bit too small. So this year, I'm going to grow a variety called aubergine Genie, which is an F1 variety. Um, and hopefully it will produce slightly larger fruits. The advantage of it over some of the others are that it's supposed to be a little bit faster growing than the Black Beauty, which is the often grown aubergine in this country. And it also has no spines, and that was the one thing the first time I grew them I hadn't appreciated, was the fact that when the fruit is ready to pick, the plant defends itself and it has these really quite vicious spines. You couldn't even call them thorns. They are real spiky spines, just at the point where you would be picking them. So just in case you've never grown them before and you decide that you are going to grow them, when you come to pick them, make sure that you're wearing heavy gloves and that you cut well away from the actual fruit, because otherwise you will get quite prickled, for want of a better word. So I'm going to use my usual method for starting seeds at this time of the year, which is on kitchen roll. And I use these little trays, which I used to get from the takeaway. And I've just simply popped some kitchen roll in the bottom, and I'm going to make that kitchen roll a little bit damp. I don't want it swimming in water. As I'm always telling the children that I used to work with, seeds don't have arms, so they can't wear armbands, so they don't want to swim. They want to drink, but they don't want to swim. So just give it a little bit of water like that. And the packet has actually got 8 little seeds in it, so I'm simply going to place them, space them out onto the kitchen roll. They're very small, so you can hardly see them. But the advantage of using this method is that I can see if and when they germinate. That one doesn't want to leave my finger. That one doesn't want to leave my finger either. So I pop them like this. Now I'm going to actually pop the whole thing now inside a Ziploc polythene bag. I used to use the lids of these trays, however, because they're slightly opaque, the light doesn't get through. And one of the big problems with sowing seeds early in the season, unless you're using the fancy light setups, is that they struggle a bit for, and this then produces what we call leggy seedlings, which means that they are very tall, but not very strong. So what we actually want are short, stocky plants, which are much stronger and will last the season better. So I'll pop this in a poly bag on my windowsill for about a week, and hopefully in about 10 days' time, we should see some signs of germination. As soon as I see little tiny shoots coming out of here, I cut the kitchen roll with the little seeds, and then I plant them into compost in my pots, a little bit like you saw with the chilies. Other things I'm sowing this week are going to be sowing some more broad beans. This is the Sutton, which is a variety I like. Again, this is going to be started on kitchen roll, although slightly deeper trays, because the seeds are quite big and they produce bigger shoots. So they will germinate very, very quickly using this method. I'm also going to start a few sweet peas. This is a variety called King's Ransom, which I've never grown before. And so again, on damp kitchen roll, and something which I've not tried before, I'm going to try celery. I've never had much success with celery. Last year I got given some seedlings, and I put them in, but they really didn't do anything. So, and again, this is a plant that apparently has quite a long growing season. So I shall start this again on blotting paper, but I will hold back some seeds just in case that method doesn't work for them, to doing compost just in case. But anyway, that's what I'm sowing this week. And as usual, if it's been of any interest to you, that's great. If it's not been any use to you, or you absolutely hate it, then please feel free to just scroll on by. Hopefully catch you in a week or so. Bye.